on down to the West. I'm going to start this off. Let's talk about Florida going against Norfolk State in the 116 and St. John's going against Omaha in the 215. Are we just going to go ahead and pencil both of those teams in as safe, or does anybody want to make the case there?
No.
No? Okay. Fair enough. Norfolk State, congratulations on getting there, but Florida, they may be the best team in the country right now. And then we got Omaha down there. Nobody thinks they're going to be beating any trash cans against Rick Pitino. No takers on that one.
You know how much I love Rick Pitino in this team, so not me, that's for sure.
Yeah, not you. All right. Fair enough. We got those out of the way. I'd say those are probably the easiest picks of this region. Now let's get into some of the more intriguing ones. It's starting with the 8-9 matchup, Uconn versus Oklahoma. Jeremiah Fears going up against Dan Hurley and the defending national champions, who didn't expect to see themselves in an 8 seed coming into the season, I wouldn't imagine. None of us really saw them here except for Mr. Jack Sullivan, who can't be with us. He is currently partying on the Chicago River for St. Patty's Day, getting in the spirit. But I think if he was here, he would be going against Dan Hurley. I personally, in this spot, I'm going to save my pick for a little bit later on once everybody else gets their say out. But I'll start with you, Blake. Dan Hurley, does he get a game under his belt here in the 2025 tournament?
No, and it kind of goes against my propaganda.
First round exit.
From preseason, I said they're like a Sweet 16 round of 32 type of team. But, I mean, I don't think this is a fairly good matchup for UConn. Oklahoma's kind of struggled to win games against good teams. But Oklahoma's a far better defensive team, I feel like. Their guards are a lot better than UConn's. I mean, Solo Ball, great offensive player, not very good on the defensive end. I think Jalen Moore is going to be a huge issue for the UConn team. So give me Oklahoma in this one.
Jake, what do you think? Does Dan Hurley get a win under his belt, or is it going to be a first-round exit for the defending national champion?
Yeah, I think Dan Hurley gets one in this tournament. I just like the experience they have. A lot of the guys on the team. Well, I shouldn't say a lot, but a couple, obviously. Big-time contributors like Caravan, and obviously they've won 12 straight in this tournament. So Oklahoma doesn't have a player on the team with March experience. When I say that, I mean like obviously with deep runs. I think they have like a few transfers that have a game or two under their belt, but I just think UConn is too experienced in this tournament to lose like in the first round. But I will say Jeremiah Fears has been playing like the best guard in the country recently, so I don't know, but yeah, I'm going UConn.
Yeah, Jeremiah Fears, he's going to be a pro. Absolutely love his game. He played phenomenal in the SEC tournament. Really liked what we saw out of him. But Brandy, we've got a tied vote right now. I'll turn it over to you. UConn or Oklahoma, who takes it?
Yeah, I'm rocking with America's most hated head coach. Maybe if you're not a UConn fan, I'm going with Dan Hurley. I just think that obviously he's a better coach than Porter Moser. I do love Jeremiah Fears in this game though, but I think that they're a tad undersized for UConn, and I think that even though he's not an experienced guard, he's still a freshman. I really like Liam McNeely's game, and I think just with the more senior leadership of Hassan Diarra and Alex Caravan, plus I think Solo Ball is playing decent ball right now too. I just think that there's a little bit more quality depth on this UConn team than there is compared to this Oklahoma team. Plus, I know that Oklahoma has been playing a gauntlet of an SEC schedule, as have every SEC team out there, but there's going to be SEC teams lose in the first round, and I think this is one of them.
Yeah, Blake, I'll go ahead and throw it over to you before I give my pick. You can send UConn through, or is it going to be Oklahoma? This is a very, very good 8-9 game, I will say. I think this is going to be a good
one. I don't care what you guys do. I already gave my pick. I said Oklahoma.
Oh, shoot. I'm stupid. Yeah. No.
I was like, what?
Oh, yeah. I'm stupid. I'm going with, gosh. I think I got to go with UConn here. I can't bet against Dan Hurley until I see the clock hit triple zeros in March. It's
You guys failed me in this one.
It's too hard. Yeah.
We can't pick all SEC teams. Look at our top
No, we
region.
can. Yes, we can. We pick all 14 for all I care.
Yeah, no,
Just wait until we have to put out there this is the most amount of SEC team or most amount of teams I've lost from one conference just because from a pure numbers perspective, that's what's gonna happen. But
I just honestly I feel like it's kind of a tough pick, honestly, because Jeremiah Fierce, he's playing so good lately. Jalen Moore, he's obviously a good player as well for them, but UConn, I mean, they've got the March success there, and I know it's not the same team by any means whatsoever, but it's just hard for me to pick against Danny Hurley until the clock hits triple zeros and he's on the losing side with the way these last couple tournaments have gone. But we'll move on down the line here. Memphis versus Colorado State, another 5-12 matchup. I've mentioned how these ones can get a little bit scary there for the 5 seed. Brandy, I'll start with you. We didn't pick a 5 versus 12 upset in the South. Are we going to be taking one here in the West?
You know, a lot of Memphis fans had been thinking they were going to get underseeded and be an 8 seed because that's what Bracket Matrix had them at. So essentially almost every bracketologist thought they would get there, but they didn't. I think they actually got seeded properly. The only problem is they got seeded properly, in my opinion, against the best or the team to me that's playing the best basketball in this seed line of 12s. Colorado State has just been really impressive down the stretch of this season. So they have the nation's 6th longest active win streak right now with 10. And so they won the Mountain West Conference, and I think I'm going to pick an upset here. I think I'm going to pick Colorado State. I like Jalen Lake. That's their 2 guard, and Nick Clifford, their wing. He's been playing really good basketball. Plus Jalen Crocker-Johnson in their front court's kind of impressive. I think Dang Danger probably would own that matchup there a little bit, but yeah, and I hate that this is the draw that Memphis got because Colorado is playing so well right now. I do love this Memphis guard room. I think PJ Haggerty is one of the best guards in the country, and I'm like a little sad that they got this. I think Dane Danges also one of the best front court players in the country too. So I just think Colorado State's playing way too good a ball right now, and Penny Hardaway for some reason just like finds a way to like lose games that he shouldn't lose. And I think that might happen here.
Yeah, it's an intriguing spot for sure. I'm going to save my pick, but Jake, what do you think about this 5-12 spot?
Yeah, I was going Colorado State. They're playing really well. They have one of the best guards in the country, and Nick Clifford. Sorry about that first name pronunciation if I butchered it, but
that's right.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, then like Randy said, Memphis. Obviously, all throughout the Penny Hardaway era, they've played down to their low American Conference competition. That's not really been anything different this year. As we saw some of the losses they took. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the upset here.
All right, that's 2 in favor of Colorado State. Blake, you've got a chance to push the upset through here if you want to go with the Rams.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that thinks this because I thought I was gonna get harassed by the Memphis Goons. Will Hedge.
Shout out to Will.
Chris Latham.
Shout out Adam E.
Shout out my boys. Adam Epstein. Shout out you too.
Look, Memphis fans are crazy.
They literally are. But anyways, I'm going against the Tigers here. Sorry, Penny Hardaway. Sorry, PJ Haggerty. I think your season ends here in the first round. Like Luke said, they played down the comp all season long. It continues to be a trend. They struggled against UAB. They struggled against Tulane. Tulane sucks. I'm sorry. So Colorado State with Nick Clifford. I think that's going to be a tough matchup, and I think Colorado State is going to go away with the win in this one.
Get the brooms out, baby. It's a clean sweep. I'm going with Colorado State as well. I think the Rams get it done. There usually always tends to be about 2 12s over a 5 in this tournament, and I think this is going to be one of them. We've got some other ones to discuss as well, and we'll save those as we get into the other regions. But moving on down the list into what I think is one of the more intriguing 4 versus 13 matchups. Maryland going up against Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon, a team that we've seen as a familiar face in the big dance for a little bit here now. Great program over there with Bryce Drew. I stayed up last night and watched their game against Utah Valley. They looked very solid, I will say. But Jake, I'll start with you. Do we think that we see a 13 over a 4 here?
No, not for me. I think I'm going Maryland. Maryland's not deep, but obviously their small rotation is very, very good. They have one of the best freshmen in the country, Derek Queen. So, yeah, I'm going Maryland.
Brandy, you want to pick an upset here, or are we going with Maryland?
No, I'm going with Maryland. I don't think this Grand Canyon team is near as good as the other Grand Canyon teams that have made the NCAA tournament in the past. They're really not that impressive to me at all this year. And I don't think Tyon's had the best year compared to his other seasons playing college basketball, which is a little disappointing. And I think Gillespie in the guard room for Maryland has been absolutely phenomenal. And Derek Queen in the front court has been so impressive. And yeah, this is a massive mismatch for Grand Canyon in my eyes from like a pure athleticism and size standpoint. And I think on both defense and offense, I think this one could get ugly for Grand Canyon.
All right, Blake, you got a chance to make this pick interesting. Do you want to hold it down for Grand Canyon, or are we pushing Maryland through to the next round?
I'm pushing Maryland all the way through this game. Jake and Brandy kind of hit on it already. But Tyon is basically the Caleb Love of the walk. I mean, he struggled really bad scoring this season. I mean, he's still second in scoring on the team, but he shot 21% from 3, and his points per game average went down like 6 points from last season. And his overall field goal percentage took a shot to like it's, I think, sub 40%. So, yeah, this Maryland team is far better than Grand Canyon. So, yeah, give me the Terps.
Terps, I'm going with them as well. Clean sweep. I don't think we see Grand Canyon pulling off any magic here, but shout out to them on getting the automatic bid again and making it to the big dance. That's an accomplishment in itself. But moving on to a team that probably got one of the worst draws they could have hoped for, the Missouri Tigers, the 6th seed going up against the 11th seed Drake. Drake is in the top 50 in the net, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and they've absolutely ran through their season this year. They've got good wins against the likes of Vanderbilt. They also took down Kansas State, if my memory serves me correctly. And I'm going to go out and say it. I think they get it done here. They were a popular pick. I believe it was last year, if I'm not mistaken. And I think I'm going to rock with them here. I think they get it done against the Tigers. Brandy, I'll start with you. Are you going to join me on the Drake train here?
Yeah, I think Ben McCollum's a great coach, and they did a great job in their conference tournament. This, I think, is going to be a popular pick the same way that it was last year too. But this Drake team is pretty high in the predictive metrics for being a mid-major team. And honestly, like Missouri just hasn't been playing that good of basketball. And I don't really know what the health status is on Mark Mitchell right now either. So I think this Missouri team will only go as far as Caleb Grill on offense will take them. So I think I'm going to rock with Drake here, which might be like a little bit of a trendy, I might be falling for a little bit of a trendy mid-major pick here, but I just really liked what I saw from Bennett Sturts in their conference tournament. And I think that that Ben McCollum has just done a phenomenal job, and he'll continue doing that, at least getting a win here against Missouri.
Yeah, when it comes to trendy mid-major picks, I think this might be the trendiest of them all when you look at this thing top to bottom. But it's well-deserved because, I mean, this Drake team, they're legit. This is a tough draw for Missouri. We're not just saying that for clicks when we talk about this. This is not a good draw for them. Blake, you have a chance to be the third vote that sends the underdog Drake into the next round if you want to go for it.
I think I'm going to do it too, just because of how well coached that team is. I mean, taking a team of basically all D2 guys, bumping them up a level, having a coach that coached these guys at the D2 level, and to be able to transition as well as he has. I just think they're the better. I don't know about better team as a whole, but I mean, I do think this is a game that, like both these styles of play between the teams aren't the same. Drake's more high power, like transition based. Well, not transition based, half court based. Missouri's more like half court sets, stuff like that. So I think Drake has the upper hand and tempo in this one. Missouri's really good defensively. So is Drake, though. So this is going to be a tough game, but I'm going to take Drake in this one.
Jake, were you going to go with the Bulldogs for the clean sweep, or were you going to fight for Dennis Gates in this selection?
No, I was going Drake.
Okay, yeah, clean sweep for the upset pick there. Moving it on into the 3-14 matchup, the Texas Tech Red Raiders going up against one of Jack Sullivan's favorite mid-majors, UNC Wilmington. He was talking about them a lot this week in some messages with us. I know he was really scared about the possibility of this team being paired up with any of the 3-seed lines, really, because they're an interesting team. They could provide Texas Tech a challenge. I'm just going to go ahead and say that I don't see Texas Tech going down here. I think they do escape maybe a close game, but I'm not going to go bold and pick the upset here. Jake, if you'd like to rock with UNC Wilmington, you can go ahead, though. I'll turn it to you for this pick.
No, I'm going Texas Tech.
Texas Tech.
Yeah.
All right. Brandy, do you want to go ahead and send Texas Tech through, or are you going to make the case for UNC Wilmington?
Texas Tech by a lot.
Okay, by a lot. I picked the close one. Brandy's going by a lot. Blake, your decision here really is kind of trumped by the rest of them, but do you want to make the case for UNCW, or is it going to be a pretty comfortable win for Texas Tech?
Give me the fight in McCaslins, however you say it. I don't think this is going to be very close either in this one.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. We already sent St. John's through in the 2 versus 15 matchup. So now to determine who's going to be playing against them, Kansas versus Arkansas. Arkansas getting the 10 seed, Kansas at a 7 seed, really a crazy sight to behold considering Kansas was the preseason #1 team in America. Arkansas started off league play 0-5. They turned their season around and managed to find their way into the big dance. Rumors are that not rumors, actually. John Calipari told John Rothstein a couple days ago that Boogie Flan will be making a return for the NCAA tournament. Now, when they did have Boogie Flan, that was during that part of the year where they really kind of looked like they were struggling. And now, Duthiero, he's listed as doubtful for the first round matchup. So, Blake, this is a very interesting spot for Arkansas because they're kind of going to be looking like a different team than what we grew accustomed to when they started their turnaround in that win against Kentucky. And I'm not sure what to think of this matchup. It's going to be a very interesting one, but I'll let you take a shot at this first. Who you got, the Jayhawks or the Razorbacks?
This is honestly like a teeter-totter type of match. Like, I could see it going either way. I mean, Arkansas started out 0-5. Kansas struggled really badly in spurts this season, late in the season. But with Boogie Flan coming back, I do think Arkansas can win this, even with Adu being out. Kansas, I don't know. They just don't move me. Their issues continue to be spotlighted. AJ Storrs improved a little bit, I feel like, here in the Big 12 tournament, but I still think there's a lot of things that should click that haven't clicked yet for that Kansas team. And I think it really starts up top with Bill Self. Like, he hasn't really, I felt like, put all the work into this team like he probably should have. And it's more so just the top transfer portal guys instead of going for fit. And I think Arkansas is going to end up being the ones to send Bill Self into early tournament hibernation.
Brandy, this is the battle of the underwhelming teams of the season, really. We didn't expect to see Kansas as a 7, and we didn't expect to see Arkansas struggle as much as they have. So this is a very compelling matchup. I know me and you were gassing up Kansas in the Big 12 tournament. We sent them on through to the final. That didn't come to fruition, but they're going to have a chance to redeem themselves here against an Arkansas team that has been kind of hard to get a read on throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, it could be exciting to see Boogie Flan kind of perform in the tournament. Who knows how he's going to be coming off injury. I feel like players always underperform in their first couple of games back. And Cal obviously has not had a good track record in the NCAA tournament as of lately. And I just think that Arkansas is like coming to a point where like they're just running out of juice at the end of the day. Like they just don't have it in them to like continue winning games, continue pulling out close games too. And I'm certainly not on board with backing a coach who makes decisions like what happened in the SEC tournament, given they did win that game. There's some question marks for me there. These are two coaches that are obviously both Hall of Fame coaches, and it's going to be a fun and exciting matchup because of that. But I do think that Kansas is just way deeper, regardless of the poor roster construction from this season. Arkansas is still banged up. Who knows how Boogie's going to fit back into the picture here. Adu's playing good defense, but I think that Hunter Dickinson I think he's going to step it up defensively. He's been playing good defensively all year. It's really just his offense. I'm going Kansas.
Split decision so far. Jake, as I send it over to you, what do we think? Kansas and Arkansas.
Yeah, I'm going with Kansas. I just don't think, even with how disappointing their season has been, I just don't think Bill Self and seniors like DeJuan Harris and Hunter Dickinson go out without at least one win in this tournament. Arkansas is going to be without Adu for this game for sure. I think Calipari has said Boogie will play like 10 to 15 minutes because he doesn't want to screw up like what the current team has or something along those lines. So that's a little bit of a talent boost. We'll see how good he fits in, but I don't know. Obviously, Arkansas doesn't have a very good offense. Kansas is one of the best defensive efficiencies in the country. I just think, and have we touched about how they played in the exhibition game yet?
No, we have not mentioned that.
Yeah, I mean, Arkansas blew them out in that one. I think it's kind of funny they're going to play again now. But yeah, Kansas has a good little script to look at, a little film. But yeah, I'm going Kansas.
I'm going Kansas as well. They get their revenge for the exhibition game. And just the fact that Adu Thiero is doubtful, and then you factor in that Calipari hasn't seen the second weekend in quite some time. He's got a bad history with these first-round games as well the last couple of years. I just think there's a lot of factors working against Arkansas here. It's a tough draw as well. Kansas is your 7. That's not really something you really wanted to see there. But I think Kansas moves on. They're going to get at least one tournament win. I don't know if they get past St. John's. We'll get to that here in a bit. But Florida versus Uconn. This is intriguing in terms of names. It's a rematch of the 2014 Final Four where Florida and Uconn matched up, and Uconn came away with that. Went on to win the national championship, but obviously two very different teams right now. I'll just go ahead and say it. Florida, I've got them going through. I think that they're playing like the best team in the country right now, and Duke's probably a close second with Auburn kind of needing to prove themselves again, but I still believe in them as a team. So I'm taking Florida to move on. Brandy, I'll start with you. Are you going to make the case for Uconn here?
No, I think Florida's playing incredible basketball right now. There's not a single weakness that I really see on that team. They've stepped it up defensively, and they have so much depth in their front court now with Micah being healthy and back in the rotation, and Chianlu really coming into his own. Plus, in their guard room, I don't know who's going to guard Walter Clayton Jr., and if he's ever having an off night, Will Richard is honestly really close to his level at this point, too. He's so good, and add in Elijah Martin in there too. And this Florida team to me is it's just unstoppable. It feels like right now, maybe a little bit of an overreaction, but UConn's defense hasn't been good all season. And you're going up against such an elite offense like Florida. I think that this is not going to bode well for UConn.
Blake, you see I jumped the gun there and started to type in Florida's name just because of how high I am on this team. So you can go ahead and send them through if you'd like.
Yeah, I don't think much has to be said about this. Florida probably going to 20 ball the fighting Hurleys in this one. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say.
Jake, you can make the case here for UConn if you want to bring some spice to this matchup, but Florida's going through. No, nothing there. All right, Dan Hurley, sorry about it. You're moving on into the offseason. Time to regroup and redeem yourself next year, which I think UConn has a chance to get back to what you want to see out of them next year. But moving on, the 12 versus 4 battle we got here, Colorado State coming off an upset against Memphis, taking on Maryland and Derek Queen. This is another intriguing spot here. This could be a part where I see maybe a 12 seed that makes a run into the Sweet 16. It's not really a uncommon occurrence when it comes to this tournament. I think I do like Maryland, though, but I could see the possible recipe for a Colorado State upset bid. Blake, I'll start with you. What do you think about this matchup?
I think Maryland is the better team just as a whole. I mean, their front court is a lot better than Colorado State's, but I do think Clifford is a guy that could be a Cinderella player. So, I don't know. We could see this game going both ways, but I'm going to pick Maryland in this one.
All right, Jake, I'm going to give you the power to send Maryland through if you'd like.
Yeah, I'm picking Maryland. I just think the rotation they run is just one of the best in the country, obviously. And I think the talent is a lot better than Colorado State's. Just the gap is too big, so I'm going Maryland.
Brandy, do you want to make the case for Colorado State before we depart from this matchup?
No, as somebody who's been on the Derek Queen fan club train for quite some time now, I'm sticking with the Terps.
Terps moving on to the Sweet 16. All right, let's get down here into the other part of the West bracket. Drake versus Texas Tech, the 11 seed going up against the 3. Brandy, I'll swing back to you for this one. Do the Bulldogs have another magical upset in them?
I don't think so. I like Texas Tech. Like JT Toppin. Their offense tends to click, and I think this is a great coaching matchup. I think Grant McCasland, younger coach, is just like Ben McCollum. Yeah, I think I just have to go with Texas Tech. I think they have more weapons and from an offensive standpoint and a little bit more depth here. So I don't think I'm gonna send Drake through.
All right, Blake, do you want to send Drake through?
No, give me Texas Tech.
Jake Roll, what say you?
Yeah, I'm going Texas Tech.
Texas Tech. All right, we're going with the Red Raiders across the board here. Yep. Drake, good upset spot there against Missouri. I think you've got a pretty solid chance of picking up one tournament win, but the road ends there. That's a pretty rough 3 seed to draw, assuming they don't get picked off. Now we got a really good coaching matchup here. Bill Self versus Rick Pitino in the second round to move on to the Sweet 16. Kansas, St. John's. Blake, I'll start with you. What do we think about this one?
I think Pitino is going to be the factor in this one. I just think he's coached his team a lot better, obviously. He got the right pieces together this year. RJ Lewis Jr. and Kadari Richmond are some of the toughest 2/3 players in the country right now. Kadari Richmond, I feel like every time I'm looking at his box score, he's getting a near triple-double, and RJ Lewis has been on an absolute tear. So give me St. John's semi-easy in this one.
I think St. John's defense is going to be too much for him. College basketball casuals, if you're just now tuning in, get ready to learn about RJ Lewis because I think he's going to light this tournament up. Brandy, you've been a big fan of St. John's all season long, and I don't imagine you're going to go against them here.
Look, one of the things that we talked about when we made our St. John's video a couple weeks ago was how their defense is amazing, and that was what allowed them to get to the point that they were at, controlling possessions, and they didn't even have to be even good on the offensive side of the ball. They're playing their best offensive basketball right now that they have all season, and that's kind of scary. I'm taking St. John's here. This team to me is really special. They're extremely well coached. RJ Lewis is so impressive, and they're going to continue controlling possessions like they do in every game. My only fear with them, maybe deeper down into the tournament, is the physicality they've been allowed to play all year may not still be able to be played in the tournament. It's officiated a little differently. It's a big known thing. But rocking with them against Kansas, I think that with the struggles Kansas has seen on offense, especially in their guard room this year, this is just not the type of team that they would want to see. But it's going to be awesome if it is a Kansas-St. John's matchup because I think Bill Self versus Rick Pitino, it's like what college basketball lover doesn't want to see a coaching matchup like that right after a Cal Bill Self matchup for that matter. So.
Mm-hmm. Jake, we've all been in agreement here for the last couple of picks. Are you going to complete the sweep for St. John's?
Yeah, St. John's.
Yep. All right, moving on into the Sweet 16, Florida versus Maryland. I'm going to keep this one short but sweet. I love what Maryland's done this season. Derek Queen, like we mentioned, he's a great player. Rodney Rice, they've got pieces there, but I think that drawing Florida as the 1 seed was probably not the greatest scenario for them. And I don't think that there's a lot of teams that are going to stop Florida from making their way to the Final Four to kind of spoil my pick. But I'm going with Florida here. Jake Roll, are you going to ride with the Gators?
Yeah, Florida playing like the best team in the country right now. Maryland's good. I just don't think they can go top to bottom with Florida, with how many pieces they bring off the bench, how quick they're able to run and score it. Yeah, Florida.
Brandy, do you want to go ahead and push the Gators through?
Yeah, I'm pushing Florida through. This might be a team that matches up somewhat decently athletically with Florida, but I just don't think that they'll have the horses to get enough offense off against this Florida offense. I think it's any team Florida plays is going to end up being turned into a track meet, and not sure Maryland can pace with that.
Blake, do you want to send out an olive branch to the Maryland faithful that are going to be upset about this pick, or are you riding with the Gators as well?
It's chomping season. Florida by a lot. Well, not a lot. I'm sorry. By like 6 or so, 5 or 6.
I think it'll be a competitive game, but I just feel like this is a really bad draw if you're Maryland looking to try and make some noise against a 1 seed. But moving on, this is a very compelling matchup. I really like this one if we do end up getting it. Texas Tech versus St. John's. I'm going to hand it over to St. John's and Rick Pitino's #1 fan to start off this game. Does St. John's make it into the Elite Eight? Brandy, go ahead.
Oh, man. This is a really tough draw for both of these teams. Yeah, I got to rock with St. John's. I think that they can get it done. Texas Tech can be a little bit streaky sometimes. And I think Texas Tech is like a Final Four good type of team too. So kind of sinks that these two teams are on the same side of the bracket.
Yeah, this is kind of a clash of two teams that are a pretty tough draw for one another. Blake, what do you think here, St. John's or Texas Tech? This is a very tough choice, I will say.
That is a really hard game to really, I feel like, pick right now. I guess on here I'm gonna go with St. John's. No. Actually, okay, never mind. Just give me St. John's.
St. John's. All right, we got 2 for St. John's. Jake, you've got the potential to send them on through to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I think this is by far the toughest matchup to pick from so far, but I'm going Texas Tech. I just like their offense a lot more. Obviously, they're top 10 in offensive efficiency. They have so many different options, and their defense is not to be overlooked too. I think they're one of the most balanced teams. Obviously, when you look outside of like the 1 seeds, even as a 3 seed, I think you could say they should have been a like their underseed should have been a 2 seed. But yeah, I like Texas Tech in this one.
Jake, I hate to overrule you here, but I'm going with the Johnnies, 3 votes to 1. I think Rick Pitino's I think he's on a crash course for the Elite Eight. I don't know about further than that, but I feel like they're just the safe bet with the way they get after it on defense and the way that their offense is starting to kind of kick it into gear here. I think that's the most encouraging thing if you're a St. John's fan, just to see that they're starting to kind of find themselves and being able to find more of a consistent identity. But that leads us into the Elite Eight matchup between Florida and St. John's, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Florida's getting back to the Final Four for the first time since 2014, and with that, I will send it over to you, Blake. Are you going with St. John's to the Final Four or Florida? Florida. That's 2 votes for Florida. Brandy, you fought for St. John's all season long. Are you going to save them here to keep the vote rolling?
No, look, I got to go with Florida here. I don't know who's stopping them. Like, I don't know. Got to go with the Gators.
It's tough. And Jake, you went with Texas Tech, obviously, to take out St. John's. But do you think that Florida is just destined for the Final Four in this region?
Yeah, I think Florida's going all the way.
Yeah, that's fair enough. All right, that caps off the west part of the bracket.